All right, it is about 7 p.m. We're going to begin, before we do the work session, with some interviews. First, we have Dorothy Hill. Dorothy, welcome. I know you're looking to be appointed to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. You can just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're seeking interest to join this committee, and what you really think you can accomplish by being a member.
Sure. Dorothy Hill, and I live in the village of Kingston. I have a background in media relations, public relations, and communication, and I first became aware of South Kingston when our son came to the University of Rhode Island. My husband's 35-year Coast Guard career brought us up and down the East Coast from Cape Cod to Key West, and I've been involved in communities wherever we've lived, and I think this is a very special community. I got a bike in 2020, and I haven't been able to stop, and I love the community. I see that there's a lot of effort put into trying to make this a more bikeable, walkable community, but I see some areas of improvement, and I've looked a little bit into what the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee has been working on, and I'd be very interested to be of service to the community by helping them.
Excellent. Thank you, Dorothy. Any other questions by the members for Dorothy?
You're ready for the time commitment of joining a board like this?
I don't know what the time commitment is, but I do have, time to pursue a passion that I have in the community. What is the time commitment?
It's not bad.
Okay.
I think you're okay.
I think I can handle it.
Any other questions for the members for Dorothy? Well, Deb?
I was just going to, nope, I'm okay.
Okay, all right.
Dorothy, I will say you do come recommended by the chair of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, so that is a plus.
Okay.
Take that into consideration, but thank you for interviewing, and you should know by tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have David Palizzetti. Dave, welcome. I know you're looking to be reappointed to the Rec Commission. We're all very familiar with you and the work that you've done, so if you just want to sort of outline some of the challenges and some of the achievements that you've had with your experience on the board.
Sure. Yeah, I've been on the board for 6 years now. I'm currently the chair. I'll probably be coming to the end of that term here shortly, maybe very shortly if you don't reappoint me. Really, I came on board when we were talking about the recreation center. I was on the building committee for that as a citizen, a member of the Little League board at the time. So they brought me on for that, and then once we finished up that project, there was a vacancy, and I applied and was appointed to that, and I've been on there, like I said, for 6 years now. Really proud of what the department does. The return on investment that we get from the recreation department is unbelievable. The amount of activities and the quality of the facilities that this town has compared to other ones in the area are remarkable. We've got a very dedicated staff, and I just enjoy being able to advocate for them and kind of bring their very little guidance. I mean, they run it pretty much on their own, but they do have questions. They bounce them off us. We enjoy that, and bringing the perspective to the town council. I mean, I think we all know we don't always agree on everything. We've got the best. We're looking for the best for the recreation department. You guys have to look for the best for the town, but we'll always provide you with that perspective and let you make those decisions. We've butted heads, I think, on the town farm park, but we worked through those, and we're continuing to work through that. And the school and the town recreation department work really closely together, especially on the sport facilities, and we're looking to kind of grow that. There's a lot of overlap, and I think we can do more in that area to share those facilities, so they're excellent facilities for the schools, but also excellent facilities that can be shared by the town's regular citizens.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
Dave, top of your wish list right now.
My wish list, or the ones that we're hearing from the community? All right. My wish list is more of what I've discussed. I think there's an opportunity here, especially with the potential investment into the schools, that we can really do a lot for our facilities in that area. We look at what Narragansett's done with their football and track area. I think we have the potential to do things of that nature so that our schools are basically desired by a lot of the athletes. There's a lot of kids that, it's surprising to think out, but there's a lot of students that really need the sports to kind of keep their motivation up through the schools, and anything we can do to attract them to our schools, I think, is critical. And one of the things I think we really are lacking is not just the educational facilities, but also the athletic facilities, and there's quite a bit of opportunity there. And I've got experience both at the Coast Guard Academy and at URI where we've been able to kind of improve those things. So I'm hoping we can do that. So that's my personal wish list. What I'm hearing loud and clear from the community is the desire for increased pickleball everywhere, whether it's taking out tennis courts and converting them, making them dual use, but also a standalone pickleball facility. It's kind of an inside joke. I always tease about it, but it is like the number one growing thing right now. We have every meeting it comes up.
Thank you, Dave. Yep.
No, I don't have a question. I just have a comment and an observation about watching you for the last 2 years from this seat, your participation in community meetings. You always come very thoughtful. You always look for consensus and collaboration, and I think you're a valuable person. I know you spent a lot of time attending building committee meetings, trying to advocate for the right project in the right time, and so I think you're an important person to continue in this role. I also think your degree and background really gives you a broad sense of bringing complex projects together. So I hope that whatever happens with the school facility bond project, that you continue to be involved and contribute, because your voice is certainly one of both intellect and respect. And I like the way you come at the problems that we have to grapple with in the meeting. So I look forward to reappointing you here and look forward to your engagement in any other issues. Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to make me blush. But I don't think everybody always agrees with you. I think there's a lot of people out there that really wish I wasn't involved in some of those projects. But I do, honestly, I do try to find consensus, and
right.
And there are opportunities there, and I am I'm really hopeful going forward.
I think you're very objective in how you evaluate the things, so that sometimes people might not agree with you, but I don't think it's a biased opinion. I think it's really, you use facts, and you're an engineer, so I appreciate it.
Try, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? Well, Dave, thank you for wanting to be reappointed. You're certainly a valued member of that board, and you should find out a reappointment tonight, so thank you.
Thank you all.
Next, we have Edward, looking to be reappointed to the Building Code Board of Appeals, Minimum Housing Code Board of Appeals. Edward, welcome. If you could just tell us about your experiences on the board, why you wish to be reappointed, some of the challenges you faced, and some of the accomplishments while serving.
Finished, I guess this June would be the second commission, which is 6 years. Great bunch of people and professionals, mostly working together and helping people solve problems with their appeals in their building fund. I don't see it as a major challenges. I think we just deal with facts and give our best opinion and recommendation to the building official. Things done.
All right. Any other questions for Edward? Deb?
Were there any unexpected challenges or any unexpected issues that you dealt with that would be helpful for us to understand?
Not unexpected, really. Sometimes strange, but not unexpected. I don't recall of any appeal that was made before the commission that really made us stop. I guess there was just one this year about approving an enclosure for a building that was going to be built in the floodplain, and it actually wasn't regulated by the building code. Somehow it wound up being put before the building of appeals, probably the building. But under the code, it was not in purview. Eventually, that thing just was taken out of the building hands. So that was, if you want to call it a challenge, is that why are we looking at something that really doesn't appear to be in our waters, you know? So, I haven't seen anything yet in South Kingston that has been mind-boggling. Let's put it that way. And thank God. You know, I'm not complaining.
All right, Ed. Well, we appreciate your service, and we appreciate you wanting to be reappointed, and you should find out tonight.
Do you need me to stay here for the...
You don't have to stay.
I'm sorry?
You should find out either way, so you
Okay.
don't have to stay to find out.
Thank you very much. Thanks
you.
for having me. Now I have to stay.
All right, at this point, we'll begin our work session. I'll hand it over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll go right to the licensing part of the agenda. On A, request for a resolution granting a special events license on the Run for Kerry 4-mile race on August 7th, 2022. The applicant is Kathy Bissett, who is a fixture in this town. Any parent that had children at Mattoon School knows how caring she was, and what a wonderful person. And she was struck with tragedy nearly 20 years ago when her daughter died from an illness. And this town really rallied around her and has had this race for over 19 years, I believe. And I would strongly recommend that we once again grant this license. B, a victualling license, the Town Made LLC. It's the old Green Line Apothecary. Sound like a typical Rhode Islander, the old Green Line Apothecary. It's in town, and the applicant is Mr. Ken Prakachanti. C, resolution granting a victualling holiday sales license to Yankee Foods LLC, does business as Go Pasta. Yankee Foods is the same company that owns the Muse, has recently purchased Go Pasta, and they're requesting this license. D is it's a consent agenda, and I see no issues with that. We go right. Do you have any questions on the licensing? If there's any? Okay, we'll move to communications. A is a resolution adopted April 25th, 2022 by the Tiverton Town Council requesting the Rhode Island General Assembly create coastal buffer zones for aquaculture operations, minimize conflicting issues in Narragansett. I have a copy of it here. If anyone would like me to go into more detail, I can show it or read it. Next is a consent agenda. C is an email from Ms. Karen De Silva tendering her resignation from the Historic District Commission. I believe she is relocating, and that was the reason for her request. D is a consent agenda. E is an email dated May 1st, 2022 from Mr. Lou Gostowski requesting a proclamation in recognition of June as LGBTQ Pride Month. This type of practice has been done in the past, and there's no reason not to, that I can see that any other reason that it would not go as well tonight. The next two items of consent agendas, F and G. H. It's an email dated May 4th, 2022 from Stephanie Moss, who's here tonight, concerning property revaluations at Roy Carpenter's Beach. I'd like to just give a little background on that so that we're on the same wavelength as we're discussing this tonight. Roy Carpenter's has 374 total units. Initially, when I reported to the council, I had 320. That number was incorrect. It's 374 units. 165 of those units, or the owners, requested hearings due to their reval. The results of the hearings were 75 were no change information, 6 were style change, and 90 consisted of minor value changes due to adjustments in size or quality or condition. This code that the person who sent, and Ms. Masters here tonight, is talking about is the 9RC vision appraisals. Because they're so unique, those 374 cottages, that they carved them out and gave them their own code, 9RC, which is 9 Roy Carpenter cottages. That's the title of it. I have the tax assessor here tonight to answer any questions that might come up, either with the council or Ms. Moss. And there's that item. An email dated May 4th, 2022 from Mr. Brian Quenstead concerning the regulation of solar panels on residential homes. I think the best route for this would be for the council to direct the building inspector to take a look at this on a one-on-one, and we can put Mr. Quenstead in touch with our building inspector and figure that part out. I believe he's new to the area. J is a consent agenda. We would go to new business after that. A, consent agenda. B, resolution accepting Oyster Drive into the town system of roads. This request is by Director of Public Services, Mr. John Schock, who's here tonight. Can answer any questions on that. Basically, this road, which the Mr. Schock recommends it be called Oyster Drive, was purchased in 1959 by the town. It was an unimproved gravel paper street in the Matunic area that runs between Atlantic Avenue and Community Drive. Recently, it was determined that we are maintaining this travelway now, and in order to do that, we need to name the road. That road goes to Potter's Pond. Mr. Schock thought it might be a good. The reason I'm giving him credit, because if they don't like it, it's up to you, John. So that it be called Oyster Drive. The next item is, well, C, D, E, and F are also by Mr. Schock, and they are recommending in C the solid waste user fee be increased as per the schedule that was laid out in the past. So basically it comes to from $2.10 per tag, per bag, would be increased to $2.25. That's because of the dramatic increase in the price that the tipping fees that the town of South Kingston and the rest of the state has to pay now at the central landfill. It's gone up substantially, and that would offset the cost to the town. The next one is resolution establishing water use fee in the schedule as shown in this schedule that we have in front of you. And once again, it would raise the current minimum user bill from $300 per year established in June 2020 to increase to $350 for fiscal year 2022 to 23. The cost for the water has gone up substantially again, and that is the reason for that request for a rate increase. The next item would be resolution establishing, this is E, wastewater user fee rates that would once again go up to meet the needs. Well, in plain English, the rate that is being charged, which is $86 per thousand, doesn't even cover the actual cost to the town for treatment. So it is recommended that rate be increased to $90, which would then cover the cost to the town for every 1,000 gallons that is treated. F, we just went over F, I'm sorry. G, resolution authorizing an award of purchase to LA Management, does business as Marine Boat Builders, or a pump that will be used on town-owned property at Marina Park at Ram Point Marina. This pump is about 20 years old. It has failed. It's very important because of the delicate ecosystem in the salt pond. that it be replaced. All the boaters use it. It's in a strategic point, so everyone can use it. It keeps that pond clean. But the good news is that the total cost is $23,630. $17,722 is covered by a DEM grant. There's a matching of 25% to the town. $5,908 is the difference, but $4,496 is covered by in-kind labor that the town has already expended on servicing this pump. So really, the total cost to the town will be $1,412. H, a resolution extending the town's declaration of emergency adopted at the emergency session on March 15, 2020, subsequently renewed on a monthly basis. I think it's important that the town mirror the state with this declaration of emergency. As we can see, we're in our 5th wave of COVID, which could impact the state and the town adversely in the next couple of weeks, or not. We don't know. And by mirroring the state, in the event we do come into additional costs that could either be covered by the state or by the federal government, that declaration of emergency would assist us in recovering that. I don't see the downside to it, to be honest with you.
All right, thank you,
Mr.
Jim.
President. Thank you.
Any questions from the members for the manager?
I had a question
Go ahead, Deb.
about the solar panels from that Brian Wenstedt.
Yes.
So that he lives in South Shore Village, so I think that he's probably prohibited from the solar panels because of the HOA. So I don't know if the referral to the building inspector is the right place.
So, Deb, you're 100% correct. When you live in a community with an HOA, the HOA has the ability to set up its own rules. When you buy into that property, that's provided to you. And for whatever reasons, that HOA, unless they change their rules through their process, they can indeed prohibit solar panels, they can prohibit garage, whatever the HOA wants to do. So, in terms of what, maybe refer to me, I'll send them a letter saying that the proper way to deal, the only way to deal with this is through your HOA.
Certainly a lot of people are putting solar panels on their homes, and it's certainly helpful, but he lives where they're prohibited. So that, I don't know if that's the right thing. And then, so about the Tiverton resolution on the aquaculture zones, and I apologize, next time I'll intercede when it's happening, but is that something that we want to refer to the Waterfront Advisory Commission? Is there boards and commission? Do we, because we can see right out many people's back doors, oyster farms and shellfishing is happening. So is that something that we want to redirect for further study? Yeah. Okay. Is that under the Waterfront Advisory Commission?
We could direct this to them to have it on their agenda, and then they make a recommendation as to support this.
And then about Pride Month, I know they've asked us to raise a flag, but per charter, we can't raise a flag on the town flagpole. Is it something that the council is interested in looking to get an additional flagpole? I know we were asked about Ukraine flying flag. It's at the police station, which is wonderful, but do we want to explore possibly a flagpole?
So, Mike, can I ask you this question? What is it that is preventing us from being able to fly a flag on town hall property?
I think, yeah.
Right.
And I know you've probably all read in the paper about the U.S. Supreme Court decision with regard to the city of Boston. And basically, they're facing all kinds of issues now because once you start allowing that, you can't discriminate unless you have a policy in place. So my recommendation is if it's something that the council wants to consider, it's not only putting up another flagpole, but before we even do that, what we want to do is create, and I could help you again if you're desirous of this, a policy that will give you the ability, for instance, to reject a Nazi flag or something along those lines. But you're still going to go down a perilous path, and the advice that I have for you and for all the other towns I work for is don't go there. Leave the pole for what it's for, and people on private property, whatever, can put up other flags. But if you want to go that way, I think we can help you legally do that.
So that makes a lot of sense, but so how does the police station fly the Ukrainian flag? We won't be doing that again?
You know, I need to, and I haven't looked at South Kingstown in terms of the policy, but I've got to make sure that if we have a policy in place, we're covered under this latest Supreme Court decision in Boston. So if you want to refer that to me, more than happy to give you a little memo on it next time around.
Any other questions from the members? All right, we'll take about a 4-minute recess before we begin at 7:30.
I saw.
Good evening. Welcome to Town Hall. It is Monday, May 9th, about 7:30 p.m. This is a regularly scheduled Town Council meeting. First order of business is the pledge to the flag. Next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement, which I will read. The town of South Kingstown pays homage to the indigenous people and land on which the town is now located, but this acknowledgement serves as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Narragansett tribe whose land and water we benefit from today. It's going to bring us to roll call. Susan, if you would.
President McEntee?
Here.
Council Vice President Collins?
Here.
Councilwoman Bergner?
Here.
Councilwoman Kelso?
Here.
Councilwoman Rose?
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. At this point, since it is his first town council meeting, I would like to acknowledge our new town manager, Jim Manny. Jim, welcome. Pursuant to our charter, Jim was sworn in on May 2nd, his first day, official day in that role. I would just like to say that this is a huge step forward for the town of South Kingstown, certainly a huge deal for this town, and we are hopeful and expect a lot from you, Jim. As we continue to work through the challenges posed that are unique in this town, business expansion, upgrading school facilities, affordable housing, just to name a few, we think you are certainly the right guy to steer the ship here. And I, as well as the group here, we look forward to a long-term successful relationship with you at the helm here. And again, welcome, Jim. We're excited to have you. If any other members would like to say anything at this point, feel free. Jim, if you would like to say anything, go ahead.
Well, first off, I'd like to sincerely thank the entire town council for their placing their faith in me to be the town manager here. I've been a resident in this beautiful town for over 22 years. My family's embedded here. My children went to the schools here, shop in the same stores as everyone. I enjoy the same high quality of life that we all have in South Kingstown. And I want to maintain all that is good with living in this town. And that basically is what one of my big charges will be. My promise to our residents is that I'll give 100% effort every single day. I'll be approachable, accessible, ethical, and treat everyone as equals with the dignity and respect that everyone deserves. Every decision I make will be measured on what is best for this town. Finally, I'd like to thank the interim town manager, who's Terry Murphy. He's in the crowd here. She really helped me in my transition. She was very approachable. We met every week. We talked on the phone numerous times. And she helped me make this transition almost seamless. I know there's a learning curve, but she really helped out more than I can say, and I'm very thankful to her. And I think she did a wonderful job here. Being an interim is a tough position, no matter what you're doing. And she held it all together for many, many months. So I'm very appreciative to Terry. So thank you, Mr. President, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Jim. All right, that's going to move us to item 4, approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Make a motion to approve items 4A, B, and C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to 5, consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to licenses. 6A, a resolution granting a special events license to conduct the Run for Kerry 4-mile memorial race on August 7, 2022 to the Kerry Lynn Bassett Female Athletic Scholarship Fund, Incorporated of Wakefield, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town and issuance of a certificate of insurance in the amount specified by the Finance Director. Application by Kathy Bassett, Director.
Good evening.
Welcome. We are familiar with this event and the good work that you do here, but
Thank you.
Just kind of want to walk us through this for us.
This will be our 19th year doing the race. We get to take the 2-year absence because of COVID, but we were lucky enough to still be able to give out 4 scholarships over the last 2 years in Kerry's memory. We've given out over $72,000 in her name. We purchased books, her dream was to become a kindergarten teacher. So we've given out books to the different schools, elementary schools in town and other places in the state.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any questions for Kev? All right, do I hear a motion? Oh, you got a question, Steph? Go ahead.
Just want to talk a little bit about how to register for the race.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm a little nervous. It's a 4-mile road race. It's held in the Matunic section of Wakefield. Starts at the fire station and goes through Blackberry Hill, Matunic. You can register online at www.runforcarry.com. And if anybody has any questions, just give me a call. Thanks.
Motion to approve item 6A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
It's going to bring us to 6B, a resolution granting a victualling license to Town Made LLC, doing business as Town Made of Main Street, Wakefield, subject to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, application by Ken Prakashanti. Ken, welcome.
Thank you.
You sort of want to walk us through what's going on here?
Ken Prakachanti, owner of Town Made, new cafe and kitchen on Main Street.
Nice, we're excited for it. You want to? This is an opportunity to sort of market the business a little bit. Tell us about the operations, the different offerings you'll have.
Yeah, we're hoping to give the opportunity to different chefs to showcase a rotating menu of offerings there in hopes of generating some economic activity, entrepreneurship, and contribution to the town.
Excellent, excellent. This is the location right next to the Purple Cow?
It is.
All right. Any questions for Ken?
So is it like an incubator space, or so a chef could come in and run meals out for a week or for a day?
I think that is a format that could be pursued. Yeah, we're hoping to rotate different chefs' offerings through the space. Yeah.
And take out food as well as in-person dining?
No in-person dining. It would be all takeout.
All takeout.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Sorry. I love food.
Don't we all? Yeah.
When do you expect to open?
Tomorrow, assuming this license is granted. Yeah, yeah. Don't count my chickens though before that. Yeah. We're all ready. The certificate of occupancy was issued last week, which was part of the I think the motion here. But yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Any other questions for Ken? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 6B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you all.
All right, that's going to bring us to item C, which is a resolution granting victualling and holiday sales license to Yankee Foods 2 LLC, doing business as Go Pasta of Wakefield, subject to all departmental approvals, Rhode Island Department of Health approval, and submission of a retail sales permit. Application by Jeff Cammons.
I'm not Jeff Cammons, but
George, welcome.
Yankee Foods.
George, want to sort of tell us what's going on here?
Well, John is a good friend of ours, a current owner of Go Pasta, and he's expressed to me an interest in slowing down a little bit in his later life. So it was an opportunity we just really couldn't pass up, seeing we're in the food business. So it's an extension of what we're looking to do in the prepared foods area.
All right, sounds good. I love the food there. But one recommendation, how about having the hours open a little later?
We're working on that.
All right, all right.
More days, more hours, more food.
All right, I like it. Any questions for George?
George, when are you taking over?
Well, just after the license approval and the Department of Health, probably within a week or two.
Motion to approve item 6C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. Congrats, George. Good luck. That's going to bring us to communications, item 7A, a resolution adopted April 25, 2022 by the Tiverton Town Council requesting Rhode Island General Assembly to create coastal buffer zones to allow for aquaculture operations and minimize conflicting uses of Narragansett Bay coastal waters.
Motion to place this item on file and refer it to the Waterfront Advisory Commission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item C, which is an email dated April 27, 2022 from Karen De Silva tendering her resignation from the Historic District Commission.
Make a motion to accept her resignation and write a letter thanking her for her service.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item E, an email dated May 1, 2022 from Lou Krastowski requesting a proclamation in recognition of June as LGBTQ Pride Month.
I'd like to make a motion to refer this to the town solicitor for further information.
So do we want to second that for
I
discussion?
want to say something. So this is a request for a proclamation, not a flag. So
Okay,
we amend
I got
that?
you. Yeah, yeah.
Is that-
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I'll amend my motion to accept item 7E.
Second.
We have a motion and discussion. A motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just say, can we have that proclamation written up for the next meeting so that way we can sort of put it, pass the proclamation in advance of the month of June?
We had a discussion in the work session for anyone who wasn't here. We talked about requests for flying flags, and the town charter, one, prohibits us from using the only flagpole we have for any other use other than to fly the United States flag. And then we discussed a recent Supreme Court ruling with the City of Boston. The Supreme Court ruled that the City of Boston could not deny flag requests of other organizations. So rather than wade into that very slippery slope, we're going to refer the consideration for flagpoles to the solicitor for review of the policy, if we have any policy that would come out of the solicitor's office and come back to us. So that might explain some of the beginning wobbling.
I was jumping ahead of things.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to item H, which is an email dated May 4, 2022 from Stephanie Moss concerning property revaluations at Roy Carpenter's Beach.
I'm going to recuse. And I think we can send my sister the bill for printing out the recusal forms.
Gladly pay it. So I do have some copies for each of you. My name is Stephanie Moss. I'm a resident of Roy Carpenter's Beach, and I'm also, just to give you some background, we've seen a lot of each other lately. Give you some background, I have degrees in the administration of justice, justice law and crime policy. I also have a doctorate in criminology, law, and society. So I've got some data for you today. I actually teach in research methods, statistics, and justice administration. So this is a little bit of my wheelhouse for today. So if you have questions about what we're seeing here, just ask me to slow down. I do teach this at the undergraduate level, but sometimes I move quickly through it because I'm used to teaching this. So just ask me to slow down if I'm talking too fast. So the theme of what I've been here repeatedly to talk to you about has been the discrepancies in what we're seeing. You've heard me say before, and I'll say again, we don't mind paying more when it's proportional to what other people are paying. We've talked about market value, and so what we have here today is this, a spreadsheet, or a couple of different graphs from spreadsheets that we've compiled together based on what has been listed as market value from recent sales from Roy Carpenter's Beach, Mary Carpenter's Beach, Village at Potter's Pond, and also Jerry Brown Farm. So these are areas that are similar to us. Yes, there are some differences. Mary Carpenter's Beach has flush toilets. We don't have flush toilets. They have some trailers when we have some nicer places, but these are what we would consider to be comparables. If people are looking to buy a beach cottage, this is where a realtor would take them to look at in this area. So this would be what you'd consider a real estate comparable for this area. So if you look at what market value is, which is what's being held against us, we're hearing from the interim tax assessor, market value is what's driving this rate. Okay, if you look at market value, especially on page 2, you see that we're right in the middle with market value. We have been year over year. We're right in the middle between all these different properties. And yet, when you look at that first page for our tax assessment, what our valuations are, why then are we skyrocketed above all of these other locations? So the memo that was referenced 2 weeks ago at this meeting, I was quite disappointed when I read that, because again, it only looks at us within our own unit. When you look at Roy Carpenter's Beach compared to other locations, you can see that this looks like discrimination against us. It's one thing to pay more because market value has increased. It's something entirely different to pay disproportionately more compared to your neighbors. We're talking about Sheldrake Road, 50 Sheldrake Road, just sold for $1.35 million, and it was assessed at $699,000. That's insane. And that's a full-time, year-round house that someone can get a mortgage on. This is private property, like just personal property. This isn't real estate. We can't get mortgages on this. So this is part of that bigger look that I'm asking for accountability over the tax assessor's office and over Vision Appraisal, which I have questions on because he used to work for Vision Appraisal. So there's a vested interest there in maintaining that reputation of that company. But this is why when you look at this, how can this look okay, right? So when it comes down to, yes, we have an appeals process, I have questions about that as well. So thank you, by the way, for all the information. We were told 2 weeks ago, I was told 2 weeks ago, that we would have our letters in this room, it's in the minutes, we would have our letters within 1 week. The memo said we would have it 1 to 2 weeks. That was May 5th. We still don't have those letters. I don't know if I'm one of those 90 people who got an adjustment. I'm still waiting. I'm really trying really hard to engage in this process the right way. On the website, it says the letter is there to start the appeal process. It's not. One of our folks called to see why is it not there? Why is it not available? They were told that it'll be made available come July 1st. It's not what the website says. It says that it should be there and the form is not available. So we're in the midst of this appeal process that we can't adequately participate in because the forms are not made available to us. So we're trying really hard to participate in this process, but there are so many barriers to us and so many inconsistencies that it's really making things very questionable at this point. Vision Appraisal also told me directly and my father at 2 separate times, 45 minutes apart, by 2 separate people on March 11th, that every single person at Roy Carpenter's Beach would get a new letter because so many people were calling within that week. They said that everyone would get a new letter. 2 weeks ago, we were told that only the people who did the informal phone call hearing process would receive new letters, which I understand that's consistent with their written policy. But again, we're hearing so many inconsistent things from Vision Appraisal. So I have major concerns about the oversight with Vision Appraisal that I have to come back and ask, is there more that you can do as the town council for oversight for this group?
So I think to help in answering that question, we should bring the tax assessor up so we can sort of direct questions to him. So, thank you. So if you just want to sort of give us a brief background, sort of outlining to us how the process works as to what Vision Appraisal is doing, how they're conducting their initial hearings, what the process is for formal appeals, and maybe give us a little history as to your understanding of the valuations that's gone into the Roy Carpenter's properties here.
Okay, I'll start with the informal hearing. I mean, you can go to Rhode Island General Law spells out how the reval cycles established that there shall be informal hearings, which are a hearing after the initial values get sent out, and that's an opportunity for the owners to speak with a representative and tell them about their property. A lot of times, it's owners know their property better than really anyone else because they live in them. So that's why there were a fair amount of changes, specifically at Roy Carpenter's, but that's not atypical. changes are made to a lot of properties. You might say you have an extra bathroom, or there isn't a bathroom in the basement anymore, or, so those things get corrected. And that's what the hearing process is for, to weed out all those inconsistencies, okay? So and they can run from, the hearings can run from informational only. You'll see a lot of those. People just call up and want to know about the process, how does it work, what's my recourse, if anything. And then there's people who, will call up and say, geez, you got this wrong, or this is wrong, or, I'd like this corrected. So that's what the informal hearing process is for. It's strictly informal, and now they were in person, now they've been over the phone over the last 2 years. So once the hearings are done, you try to set dates as to when the hearings are going to get completed, but it's very difficult because when you set up a schedule for hearings, informal hearings, it's like how many people are going to call up? Well, you get over 10,000 parcels here. You could have a lot of people calling up just to get information. So we extended the hearing process, opening up additional days so people could call in, and we tried to be as accommodative as possible with that. And then at some point, we have to end those. They have to review all the hearings, make changes, code the property record cards, so that anyone that had a hearing, whether there's a change in the value or not, will get a notice. Now, in addition, there's also properties that have been changed for owners who didn't have a hearing. Okay, you find errors, corrections. So anybody that has a value change that didn't have a hearing will get a notice also. Okay, so that's the informal process. As far as the legal process of appealing your taxes, spelled out in Rhode Island general law, that form is made available after the bills get sent out, really after the tax bill is certified and the bills get sent out. You can appeal your taxes, but if you don't get a bill, if you haven't gotten a bill yet, you really,
So just to pause you there,
the solicitor can answer the question.
It's not an appeal as to the revaluation, it's an appeal as to the amount of taxes that are owed?
It's the appeal of the assessment.
Okay.
Okay? Whether it's an informal hearing or whether it's an appeal, well, they call it a tax appeal, but it's a tax appeal of your assessment. Okay? We set the assessor's office establishes values. Really, it's the town council that establishes the rate based on how much money you want to raise.
And that appeal is made to a court?
Well, initially, it's made to the assessor on a form.
Okay.
I appeal my tax assessment. That's the form that's online on the website. We don't make it available until it's, you can legally do it, which is, I believe, it was mentioned July 1st. I'm not particularly sure when we will make that available, but it typically is held until the bills go out, or the tax bill is certified. I'm not clear on that one, but so between June 15th and July 1st is really the time that form is made available.
So after there's an informal hearing and there's no changes made to the assessment, and the person decides to file a formal appeal, what are some of the bases that they should sort of try to establish in order to change the assessment? Like, what are some of the bases that would be looked at as something indication that the value is arbitrarily high?
Well, there's really two fundamental bases of reevaluation. One is equity and one is market value. Okay? So we try to reevaluations try to reestablish the market value as of 12 in South Kingstown's case as of 12/31/2021, and then the equity that you've been treated equally.
Okay, so like this data here, I mean, as we look at it on the surface, it tells us that this area of properties is being disproportionately negatively affected by the increase in the value specific to their area as compared to others. Is this something that could be used in a formal appeal to help show that the value is arbitrarily high?
Yeah, well, I often get a question of what should I submit. I mean, it's really up to the homeowner or the property owner to make their case, because they ask you, what do you think the value of your property is, and why don't you think it's accurate?
So I'm just trying to pose the questions because
Okay.
the resident here, I don't believe, has gone through the formal appeal process. So I'm trying to try to establish different ways in which she could use as a basis to show that she does have something here in this appeal is to move forward with?
Yes, she could certainly submit this. With a formal appeal?
Yeah, Mike, go ahead,
Maybe I
step in
can
here.
do just a little bit too. So obviously a taxpayer can bring in whatever evidence they believe will help make their case. This is an example of a taxpayer. They could bring that in. What the assessor and the Board of Review and then ultimately the Superior Court are going to pay a lot of attention to also are the appraisals and assessments of other properties that are similarly situated. So that when I'm representing clients in other towns appealing, what we do is we get a real estate appraiser to give us assessments of similarly positioned properties to show that, hey, this appraisal is wrong by the reval company because here are the other properties. So, and then it becomes a give and take type of thing, right? Because there are all kinds of sales out there. The questions are, is this one more applicable than that one? Is it in the same neighborhood? Is it brick or is it clapboard? All of those things sort of go into it. Bottom line, taxpayers should bring in whatever they feel will help their case. It is not unusual. I understand the frustration, where are the appeal forms, where are the appeal forms. That's true everywhere. Until a bill goes out, there's really not yet anything to appeal from. So just be patient. No one's going to lose their rights in terms of the appeal time period, so long as they stay within the 90 days. And on the form itself, it tells you exactly how many days you have to file your appeal. You go to the tax assessor first. You have a conversation with the assessor. From there, there's the Assessment Board of Review, the panel of individuals that you all appoint, that then reviews what the tax assessor placed the value on and what the property owner says. 90% or more of all cases are resolved at that level. It's only when the taxpayer is not happy with the final decision of that Assessment Board of Review that it generally goes to Superior Court. People have the legal right to bypass the Assessment Board of Review and go straight to Superior Court. That's, if you want to hire a lawyer and do that, they can. I highly recommend you take advantage of all three steps. First with the assessor, then with the Board of Assessment Review, and then finally you exercise your rights in Superior Court if you're still not happy. Well, that whole process will be laid out. There'll be a timeline, and probably middle to end of June, all of that will begin.
All right, thank you, Mike.
I'm just on the web page, Property Assessment Appeals, and so you have to read it several times to realize that the form isn't available now. It will be available later. So I think that's what's also frustrating for people who are like, I want to prepare my legal brief. I want to prepare all my stuff. I want to see what you're going to ask me. So you're saying that it won't be available until it's May 9th, not until maybe June 15th? And then they have 90 days. It says the blah, blah, blah.
It's 90 days from the first tax payment.
The deadline for the 2022 appeal period is October 30th, 2022. So there's a long window. It's just that people who are preparing type of mindset want the form sooner rather than later.
Okay.
It's just...
I'll look at that. I mean, it could be better explained. I mean, if we don't have it on the website, then people call up and say, "Where's the form? I need the form," and it's we can certainly improve on it. I'm happy to look at that.
Maybe just say you can have the form, but no forms are accepted prior to property bills being mailed out. I don't know.
I have one sitting on my desk right now. So
you have them on your desk?
Oh, they send them in. Yeah, the people send them in.
Oh, okay. Stephanie Moss. Are these the only 4 leased land housing things in South Kingstown? Are there any other leased? Because you have Roy's, Mary's, Potter's Pond, and Jerry Brown Farm. Are there any other?
Did we have nations? That was all. We were really digging. That's all. There was a group of us that, because this has happened to us before.
Okay.
And these were the comps that we had from last time this happened to us. this isn't the first time. So these are the ones that we are aware of. We were hoping that we don't have to get a lawyer involved. Last time we did, and it's a mess when that happens. But here we are again. Like, I do want to follow up, by the way, and ask when should we expect our letters, because we were told a couple different things, and so these are the 4 that we're aware of. But we're also hearing different things about like what is an appropriate comp and what's an inappropriate comp, and I don't know.
So I think the best recommendation at this point would be to proceed with the appeals process. Go to the board that we've created. What's it called, Mike? That's the one. I would move forward to that one and sort of go from there.
Which we can't do, though, until we get our new letters. Do we know when we'll get our letters?
Is Vision supposed to send you the letters?
Yeah, we will be sending letters out, and again, I started talking about the hearings and how they get pushed around because of how many people and responding and dealing with issues. The letters is kind of the same situation. I could have sent them out 2 weeks ago, but I held them just because there were a few questions that I had, and with the transition to Jim coming on board and a couple of the other things, I didn't see what the rush was. So that was my judgment that I used, and I'll stand by that. But they should be going out very shortly. And so just one thing on the appeals, I'm not sure how they do them here, but how I've done them is the decision from the assessor is a simple letter just saying what my decision is. They can appeal it. Even if I give them adjustment, they have the opportunity to still appeal that to the Tax Assessment Board of Review. And I've tried to make it as easy as possible. What I've done is on the letter it says if you'd like to appeal this, just initial it and return it. And that's so we try to make it as friendly as possible if you can do that. But okay.
So yeah, hopefully we've been of assistance here. Our solicitor has sort of outlined the steps here to go through as far as an appeal. There's only sort of limited things we can do as far as getting in there and trying to fixate values for you. Unfortunately, these charts do reflect, it looks like, a disproportionate increase in value specific to your area. But please take advantage of the appeals process and try to create as much evidence as you can to show that you've had a negative effect, and go from there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for your questions, and thank you, sir, for your information tonight. This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so do we hear a motion on this item? We just place on file.
Motion to put 7H on file.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes 4-0 and 1 abstaining. That's going to bring us to item I, which is an email dated May 4th, 2022 from Brian Quenstedt concerning the regulation of solar panels on residential homes.
I'll make a motion to place item I on file. 7I on file.
We discussed in the work session that...
Oh, sorry, we need a second, then we'll get to discussion. You want a second for discussion?
I don't want to put it on file. I wasn't going to second it.
We actually discussed referring it to me, and I'll send a letter explaining that it's really the HOA that has to be the organization that changes that rule, that the town has no influence over that. I'm more than happy to send a letter if you just want to refer it to me.
This homeowner lives in a HOA.
I'll make a motion that we place this item on file and refer it to the town solicitor.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to item 8, comments from interested citizens. Bob? No, anyone, feel free. First come, first serve. Just so everyone knows, we're going to limit everyone here to 5 minutes just to give everyone else an opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
With that said, could everyone just introduce themselves?
Well, I'd like to congratulate our new town manager, number one.
Oh, Bob, can you just state your name?
I would on a night like this, when there's hardly any car...
Before you go forward, can you just state your name for the record?
Oh, I didn't know this was I thought it's not a public hearing. Okay, Bob Traeger, Succotash Road, ex-owner of Skipstock after 43 years. Might not be in South Kingstown, but it really is. Let's face the facts, right? Anyway, it's gone now. This is a very interesting case right here. It was 2 weeks ago. I was here. I decided to run over here quick because I'm not going to be around for about a month, and I don't like missing the meetings now. I'm kind of charged up to come to the meetings now. Anyway, I had a place in Wackimo Park years ago. I'm 82. I've seen the changes in this area. I've lived here. I'm a Rhode Islander from the day one, and was lucky to get down here in '76. And we bought a little shack over there in Wackimo Park. We called it Poor Man's Paradise. I think we were paying like $200 a year for the land to stay there. And then it was sold, and you guys know the whole story on Wackimo Park, and I'm not going to get into Victor Walker and all the rest of he's passed away now anyway. And I think the people finally got the place. And I was the president of that association when we went all the way to the highest court in Rhode Island trying to do something. And right after that, they gave the right to people that have formed an association to get the first right of refusal. It finally happened in Rhode Island. So things do take time. You know, we were on the wrong end of that. But this particular situation, I just wrote a question down. I don't know if anybody, whether you would want to respond to it or not, but if these assessments, I don't know what they are, like 400,000, what are they doing to you over there?
Bob, could you just sort of, it's not really a communication
got to go through
between you and the public here.
Well, I'd like to know what some of these assessments are. And I'd like to know if they are egregiously high. If a person had the assessment and that person decided, I think I'm going to sell my place, would they be able to sell it in a week?
Bob, that question is really dependent on the liquidity of the market at the time. Maybe, maybe not. It really depends. I'm not sure.
I think this is an unusual situation. We had it at Breakwater Village over in Narragansett. They're all little mini mansions now. Jerusalem's all mini mansions. We had it there. We didn't even lease land. We just rented it by the year. And then that group got together and petitioned the court, and we finally bought the properties over there, and they zoned them all off, and, they came in and you had a specific property that was designated, and you saw what happened immediately over there. Well, immediately in the last 10, 15 years. 30 or 40 years is nothing for me anymore. I don't think in terms of a couple of years or 2 minutes or quick money from one day to the next. A lot of people did that in the last year or so. I'm just curious about this. I'd love to spend a little time on it, but I'll sit down. There's so many things going on now. I've already said it more than once. Nobody's talking about voting rights anymore. Nobody. I listen to a lot of news, C-SPAN and the NewsHour and BBC. I listened, and they're on the Ukraine. It's Ukraine now. Now it's Roe v. Wade, a big one. It's another big one. Another unbelievable problem for this country. Unbelievable problem for this country. I'll sit down because there's no end to it, but I would love to get into this a little bit more because I think this is where people get squeezed out of our community. There might be people there that can make a real killing because those places, just like Wackimo Park, they were shacks, But now you don't know what's there now. There's all these beautiful homes right where my little shack was. That's all right. I mean, I got no problem with that. The guy invested, and he's built some beautiful homes there. And they're all worth $1 million a shot, at least, or more.
All right, thank you, Bob.
We got a problem, and I don't know if you can address it, but it didn't, I'll tell you, I'll give you the general thing. I listened to this young lady with a doctorate degree. I couldn't even begin to speak with her. I'd have to really, I'd have to tone up pretty good to be able to talk with her. But I don't think she's not being helped. She said she's being helped, but I found it a little bit weak on the help side.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else in the audience? Just feel free to come on up.
Hi, David Flanders with the Conservation Commission and Friends of the Saugatucket. I sit on their board. I was here a couple of weeks ago talking about the EDC's letter of support for the Conservation Commission's petition to the council to add the 50 milliliter nip bottles to the plastic reduction ordinance. I was told that the attorney wanted to run it by pending legislation to see if it was going to supersede that legislation in any way. And thought we might be getting an answer tonight, but is...
Actually, I said at that point, it's going to be at the next meeting.
Okay.
It will be at the next meeting. I'm fairly confident, though, that state law preempts, so, but I'll give some options on what the town can do going forward.
Great. In the meantime, last week, something else came up. Another piece of, actually it's Rhode Island general law now, that was passed in 1989 and was reviewed in 2018, and that is RIGL 23-18.12-3, beverage container recyclability requirements. And we all know now that the little nips are not recyclable, which is one of their major problems. But this Rhode Island general law, which is over 30 years old now, states that every beverage distributor located and or doing business in the state shall sell or convey beverages only in containers for beverages which, 1, shall have obtained a 50% recycling rate by 1992, as determined by the department pursuant to provisions of this chapter. Well, clearly the NIPS did not do that because they still haven't done it because 0% have been recycled. My point is, this legislation says that these NIPS are illegal. They shall not be sold. Clearly, this law has not been enforced in any way. But rather than getting into what should South Kingstown do about enforcement or prodding the state to enforce this, because this is obviously a statewide problem. This is not just a South Kingstown problem. But seeing as how this law is already on the books, I don't see what is preventing South Kingstown at this point from adding the NIPS to our ordinance, because it does not surpass this legislation right here.
David, I understand your concern, but I think it is important for us to rely on our legal counsel and the advice they give us. He is working on the matter. At the initial outset, he's told us there may be a preemption problem, but at the next meeting, he's going to outline some options, hopefully, as to how we can address it. It's certainly something on our radar. We're not bypassing it.
No, I understand that. I just wondered, that one? Okay, good.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? Come on up.
How you doing? I'm RJ Stamp. I'm also a owner of Roy Carpenter's Beach. Just touching upon what Steph said. For years, Vision has used cottage for our dwelling style and with a cost basis type of an evaluation, as with similar properties in town with no land, such as Mary Carpenter's, Village of Potter's Pond, and Jerry Brown Farm Association, meaning the house is appraised as a replacement cost of the dwelling. Because there's no land, it's tough to find a true evaluation. Since we don't own the land this year, Vision decided to go with a sales type evaluation where they get all the sales together, and which is astronomical because of COVID and all that. Just for Roy's, they did this, as the other three properties still follow the replacement cost style evaluation. Going the sales route is okay if the land is involved because the price of the land will fluctuate to where the land sits and the overall market conditions. However, the replacement cost of the structure will pretty much stay the same year over the year. It's pretty much just the sticks and bones, just the price of lumber and all that stuff. That will go up slightly as with inflation. Since Vision went to the sales route, it doubled the tax for us, for Roy Carpenter's Beach. It takes into the account, but they did it, pretty much takes into the account of the land that we sit on, and we do not own, and the taxes on that portion is paid by Matunic Beach Properties, and then in turn we pay the land tax to them through our lease, which is $4,100 a year, on top of the town property tax. It's almost like we're again double taxed in this case. Some boring data I have for you. Some random queried cottages that I found on Vision's website since 2011. The cottages as a dwelling from 2020, the average was $67,927 on the house portion. In 2021, it went down to $64,788, which was a 3% decrease, and a 13% year-over-year decrease in the taxes just on the portion of the house or the home. That's with the proposed $10.97 per thousand that the town has proposed. I get from the website. So Roy's cottage depreciation value on average in 2020 was $58,150. In 2021, it went up to $151,000, or 159% increase, which is $497 per square foot. And our taxes increased because of that 97%. So the town is getting $300,000 more dollars from us this year, just from the cottages, than last year. While the taxed land, last year the town received $107,000 for the land. It's actually decreasing 16% to $92,000. So they're actually making less money on the land, waterfront land. Mary's depreciated value in 2020 was $39,000. In 2021, it went up to $58,000, which was comparable to ours from last year, which comes out to about $253 per square feet. Most of that increase came from mobile homes, which was a 159% increase, while the cottages at Mary Carpenter's only went up 26%. This increase put them in line with what we paid last year. Still overpriced per square foot the rest of the town, and it's a 6% increase for taxes, about $13,000 that the town gains from that. Village of Potter's depreciated value in 2020 was $57,000. In 2021, it went up to $77,000, a 40% increase. However, the cottages in Potter's Ponds decreased 5%, while their mobile homes went up about 96%. The town's actually going to be losing, with the reevaluation, they're going to be losing $14,000 from that area this coming year. Jerry Brown's, that's my last one. The average was, they're pretty much, their homes, you can live in them, they have everything. 2020, the average was $224,000. 2021, it went up to $322,000, a 59% increase. However, with the decrease in tax, they're losing about 31% tax revenue. And for the land and the homes, you're losing about $40,000 a year just in that area. And some just little tidbits. So between Roy Carpenter's, the cottages, and Matunic Beach Properties land, if you combine them together, their valuation was $65 million. That puts us as the highest taxed entity in the town. Number 2 is Harbor Village Apartments at $41 million. Narragansett Electric, National Grid at $29 million, and South Colony Commons at $28 million. So that's just pretty, we're just regular people, and we're getting taxed more than billion-dollar companies. And that's it. I think we're just being singled out in this whole process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak? Just feel free, come on up.
Hi, Jim O'Neill, Matunic. I, too, would like to welcome Jim Manny to our family. It's I think really have a chance here to help us continue to right the ship, but something that I want to thank Terry Murphy for her wonderful year here of keeping that so-called ship of state afloat. So, Terry, thank you very much for all your hard work. It isn't fun coming in and entertaining the residents. So, along with these lines, 3 years ago I asked this town council to, I wanted to see a Homestead Exemption Act put forward in this community, just like Narragansett had. Jean Bouchard, at your orders, put together a terrific memorandum. Jim, for your edification, it was dated April 12th, 2019, 6-7 page summary, which kind of damned it at the time. But as you know, in the 3 years since then, the real estate market now makes a homestead exemption a real potential opportunity to help our taxpayers, especially those in the we'll call it the workforce income area, that $30,000 to $50,000 area, especially for people also that have been in this town for many, many years. It's a real opportunity. I know the zoning area has been, we've had a couple of new folks here over the last few months, so it's hard to get some numbers. But last time I spoke on the tax issue, we were around $4.3 billion of residential value. That would have been 3 years ago. If our 27% number stands of the increase of residential property values, we've added another $1.1 billion. $1.1 billion. In terms of dollar amounts, since I'm in the real estate business, most of that has been at the very high upper income area and the waterfront area. They're the ones that have created this price structure, which now we're talking about a tax structure. But I'm interested in, though, the Homestead Act helps your town residents. The out-of-state folks, and I'd love to get the data on it because they were a major part of that $1.1 billion increase, mainly waterfront, mainly the high-income areas that can purchase properties down here. So there's a way that I think this council could order this, and the data's easy enough to put together, but I think it's long overdue. And long overdue now with what's happening with the economy, because my real estate, I deal with carpenters, contractors, plumbers, everybody else. You all know the inflation numbers currently are 7, 8, 9%, but incomes are up only half that. But the worst part about that is you've got folks now in that labor group, if they even fund their IRAs or retirement plans would be a question. They're not funding them fully. And think about it, too. You know, they'd go after the highest deductible for health care, et cetera, automobile insurance, you name it. I just wish the council, if I really would like to see more concern that I see about the national economy, because there are a whole lot of ways right now that you don't want this economy to go. And right now, I gave you opportunities months ago why we were way overpriced with our personnel in our school system, backed by numbers, not by just philosophic thoughts. So we need to help the folks that have really made this community in town so valuable in terms of social and just our geography has made it so valuable for all these new folks moving in. So I really think those are the people that, at this particular point, that they're the ones that should be helped out. So what we have to do out of that $1.1 billion new money, Jean Bouchard had us needing anywhere from $1.6 million to $1.8 million to afford a 10% homestead exemption like Narragansett did. So I don't know if, depending on where that money would come from, but can we reach that 10% level? And that's without upping commercial, keeping commercial the same rates that we have for residential. Also helping folks out in the lease land parks, which we have 5 of in town, maybe 6, depending on how you, the definition of the other one. Also, too, when I talk to folks, obviously, and in the senior communities, which we have many and growing here in this town, the first thing is, hey, we're paying for the education of the kids, and along with monthly leases on our property. So a lot of questions there, too. So I think it's overdue now with this real estate market that we consider a homestead exemption. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. And you should have questions.
You are past the 5. If you want to come up again, we'll let you do that, but...
Well, no, I was asking if you had any questions. I was going to finish with that.
Any questions for Jim? No questions right now. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the sentiment. It's something that's on our radar, for sure.
I certainly hope that's the case, because you could come into an awful surprise next fall when your budgets begin again. You have to think about what affects everyone in this community. And I just don't feel it from you, that I just don't hear enough talk about what's happening nationally at the moment, economy-wise, economics. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? Come on up.
Congratulations, Mr. Manny. My name is Doral Beasley. So at a recent town council meeting, I mentioned what's going on in the United States with inflation. Interesting, today I ran across a calculator on the New York Times website where you can, if you answered 7 questions, it would calculate what your inflation rate would be for your family. And the thing that really just popped out at me was, so over the past year, annual inflation rate in the U.S. is 7%. In the 12 months ending in March, 2 months ago, was 8.5. But one of the questions was, how do you heat your home? And if you answered with oil, you added 3.0% to your inflation rate. Now, I know for a fact, because when this heating season started, I'm in a budget plan like a lot of people are, so the heating season starts in July. So last July I was paying $195 a month for oil. And the last 3 payments for this year, so that I caught up with the amount the oil's been costing, I'm paying $386 for the last 3 months. So that's like double the cost for oil. So there's a lot of people in this town heat with oil. Jim said to all the new folks moving into town, I don't know where they're moving in, Jim. The numbers aren't all out yet. The U.S. Census people are dragging their heels a little bit to make sure that things are right, I guess. So a lot of the specific numbers about age groups and housing, where they are in housing, won't come out till next year. But I'm pretty confident that if there's any growth, if there was any growth over this last decade in South Kingstown, it's less than 1%. And when all those numbers come out, because the only growth that really happened in this town, so when you see 30,000 plus people living in South Kingstown, that's including 6,000 plus or more at URI. So when you take them out, the biggest growth number over the last decade was the number of students living on campus at URI. It's just, so it's like they've gone up to like 12, 1,300, 1,400 kids. And that, to me, that The fact that we've lost 1,800 kids out of our school district in the last 20 years, to me, is a disaster. I've said this before, and it doesn't seem to register here for some reason. East Greenwich and Barrington, over the last 20 years, in the same period of time, their school enrollments have fluctuated plus or minus 100 kids. And ours have gone down 1,800. That's not a problem. We've heard people come up to this podium over the last few weeks and say that their children and their grandchildren can't afford to live here. They can't live here unless they're given a piece of property by their parents or their grandparents. They can't afford to live here. Isn't that that's a problem to me? Isn't it a problem to you? But the thing is, when I looked through your new comprehensive plan, I didn't see any downzoning in there. I didn't see where you wanted to reverse what we did 50 years ago when we upzoned the town and doubled the price of land. We should be downzoning whatever buildable land is left in this town. We should be considering downzoning it. And buildable land that's anywhere near sewers or close to where sewers end, we should be having cluster zones of small lots, say like 10,000 square foot lots, so people could actually maybe afford to buy a small lot like that and actually build a small starter home. It was just in the paper a couple days ago. Starter homes are like an endangered species in the United States.
Thank you, Doral. Anyone else in the public like to speak? Feel free to just come on up. Anyone like, for the first time, before we let you come back up, Jim? All right. That's correct. I'm going to allow you to speak a second time. Come on up, Jim.
Jim O'Neill, Matunic. Doral was right there. We don't have any population gain, but as I mentioned, it was just the dollar amount of those properties up $1.1 billion, and that's very true. What I wanted to ask, maybe Mike can answer this. Every time I read a little something about the General Assembly, I really feel as though, and I'm a student of Steve Alfred, as you know, and he and I, for years, complained about losing our home rule charter rights here, especially land use, planning board, et cetera, et cetera. And there seems to be a constant attack to take away all of our efforts to plan for our future. They shorten the time, so you can't think about a project. But where is it going, and should we stand up, and should you stand up and start fighting on behalf of home rule charters, which so many cities and towns have in the state?
I can quickly respond. There are bills before the General Assembly right now that actually refer to what Doral was saying about downzoning that would allow accessory apartments to be built on parcels that by zoning would not be allowed today. It would apply to cities and towns in population in excess of 20,000, that obviously is South Kingstown. But I'm also hearing through the grapevine and elsewhere where that bill may not be going anywhere. Doesn't mean that it won't resurrect in a different way or show up again next year. But the League of Cities and Towns and my office, we keep track of bills that are going to directly affect towns like South Kingstown, and we'll bring it to the council's attention. But right now, I'm not sure that bill is going to go anywhere, frankly. There's been so much opposition and outcry against it.
Okay, and I apologize, Roy, I should go through you, but through you to Mike, just it wasn't specific about the affordable issue. I mean, we have our accessory detached apartment units here, which we've improved upon, which not everybody else in the state has. We can get better at that. My confusion is our constitutional rights to home rule charter being taken out of our hands, land use and otherwise.
I'm not aware of any bill today that's pending that would do that. I'm just not aware of it.
Yet if the state takes over zoning, isn't that interfering with our rights?
There is not something other than what I just spoke to, the affordable housing component. There's not anything pending to my knowledge right now in the State House that would impinge upon home rule charters.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because the last that Steve Alfred shared with us was just a lot of bad legislation coming from the General Assembly that from Right to Farm Act that affected residential properties, on and on from there. So, also too, I forgot to mention, Rory, that years ago when you and I were running for office, you also mentioned your interest in the Homestead Act too. So hopefully you'll follow up with that a little bit. If I know my numbers are correct.
I have interest. It's on my radar. It's something I've actually spoken to Jim Manny about in a conversation privately. But it's something I'm hopeful that we can work toward and potentially put forth. But we'd have to establish detail as to how we would do it, then get the enabling legislation to allow it, and then move forward from there.
Okay,
we wouldn't get the enabling
legislation. You were part of that council that asked Jean Bouchard to put that brochure together, not brochure, but that package together, which was very informative, and it'd be a very easy starting point from our current zoning folks to run with the ball. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim, so I'm aware of the General Assembly that has a land use commission. In fact, Maria Mack, our chair of the planning board, serves as the vice chair of the State Land Use Planning Commission, and there's documents here on the website. So I know that Jim is correct that there is some movement at the state level to make some changes or to discuss possible changes, and that's happening. The only positive might be that we do have South Kingstown represented by Planning Board Chair Maria Mack. And I haven't had, I'm just looking at it right now, but I haven't looked through all the documents related to it. But they do meet regularly. In fact, I think they meet tomorrow. Thank you. And then I just wanted to comment if there's anyone else.
Anyone else like to speak? For the first or second time? Bob, go ahead.
Just like, you know who I am now, right? I don't have to do that again, do I? Anyway, what's going on here in the last, say, 25 or 30 minutes is something that I have spoken, I've said it's happened. It's the kind of thing that needs to be happening regularly with people in the town. And I think it should be a special meeting. It maybe shouldn't be with you guys. You got a lot on your plate, no matter what. We're all regular people here. I don't see anybody that I wouldn't consider a regular person. I don't know if there's any trillionaires in the room today, but there are billionaires in the town. I know some of them, and you know, we are in a transitional period in this country. It's always in a transitional period, but it's accelerated now. The statistic that always comes to mind that I hear frequently on the news is 40% of the people can't come up with $500 if they need it. Now, maybe there's not a lot of them in South Kingstown, but there's a few, I'll guarantee it. And believe me, their families definitely, and nobody's going to be able to, if they're living here, it's only because they've been here a long time. I've always said, even in my case, I was a school teacher. My mind doesn't work as the gentleman was up here, and I'm not a statistical numbers guy, but I am a guy that looks at the situations that we're encountering, and it's so scary to me, right? I never would ever, I've said it before, I would never believe I'd feel the way I feel right now about what's going on. Not only in the country, the whole damn world is screwed up. The people, we're allowing things to go on. You know, it's one thing to be complacent when you really aren't seeing it, you know, and you're doing your daily thing, and you're taken care of. But it's not like that right now. There's stuff going on. And as I said, I don't expect 5 people in front of me here to solve the problems of this state or this town even, or this country or the world. I mean, but we have to be aware of them, and we ought to be talking about them, because you can't, when you walk by somebody, somebody's on the street begging or whatever, I mean, I don't know. I wanted to say one thing I forgot to say before about I used to go to both town councils, Narragansett and South Kingstown, and I think I've said a few times that, I mean, it's 2 different worlds. And now that we have a new town manager, we have a town manager, which has been a vacant thing in Narragansett as long as I haven't been there for a while now, so I doubt if anything's changed. It's very seldom a town manager they'd sit there maybe, but they'd never say a word in the whole meeting, or never be asked a question. I think if we have a town manager, and it sounds like we have a good town manager, we got a town manager that knows the town, lived there all those years. So he knows the ins and outs of a lot of things. But we have pressures now that not easy to solve, because fairness is something that we have to look at much more closely than we ever did before. Fairness, it's hard, and I'll sit down. But I mean, the idea is there's so much going on that I don't know. One of these days, I'm going to come to a meeting with one topic. I'll write it down, and I'll just some of the people did that tonight. The gentleman that was here, the tall gentleman, I don't remember his name now, but I'd like to know his name. I'd love to talk with him, because he's thinking about the situation. We won't have the same opinions, but we need to have an opinion. We need to have some opinion.
Thank you, Bob. All right, anyone else in the audience like to speak for the first or second time?
This will be quicker. I'm hoping you can answer this. Maybe Mr. Ursillo or the our accountant. So when a town goes through a revaluation, who decides what groups of taxpayers, the percentages of the increase of the different groups? So, for instance, you have businesses, you have multifamily homes, and you have single-family homes. Probably some more categories I don't know. But who decides what weight each of those groups are given as far as how much their valuations of their properties increases?
Gerald, I would defer that to the vision appraisal, the valuation experts. I'm sure they have methodologies that guide them in how to assess different groups of properties and what the increases will be relative to them.
All right. Well, I asked the question because I did it in your revaluation information that's on your website. It has where you can go and look at, for instance, single-family homes. So I did I converted it to an Excel spreadsheet, and then there's like 9,200, and I know how many single-family homes are listed there. and the average increase for single-family homes was 37%. 37% was the increase in the value of their homes. It was the highest increase from the three categories that I could find. So my question is, why was that put on the backs of single-family homeowners? It might be something you'd want to ask. You guys might want to ask Vision, because I'm sure this is not the last time it's going to happen. So a few weeks ago, I was talking in one of your joint meetings with the school committee that I was going to put up, if I didn't see hopefully some changes in how we were approaching keeping our school district, the amount of money, the cost of our school district under control, that I was going to put in a petition. I decided after Mr. Prince was appointed as a new superintendent that I decided not to do that this year. And it's not because I didn't want to. It was more of a courtesy to him to not have to deal with something like that. I'm just hoping. He was my first choice 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, and he's still my first choice this time. So I really wish him the best in that job. It's going to be a tough one, but I think he's going to do well. But you guys had an opportunity these last 3 years to slow that increase down. I just don't understand why you didn't. Because in speaking with Raquel, the CFO of the school district, next year, the bills are going to come due here. As far as our school aid, it's going to, unless the legislature coughs up a new funding formula between now and then. She estimates that our contribution from the state is going to decrease by $900,000 next year, and over $1 million the year after. So we're going to go from 48 to 39 to like 2027, 2,800, $2.8 million.
You're past the 5.
Yep.
Wrap it up.
And it's because we didn't keep our eye on the prize. We didn't keep our per pupil cost under control.
Thank you, Doral. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the town manager's report. Sorry. Deb, go ahead.
So I think two different residents came up and spoke a little bit about housing, and I just wanted to speak for my own opinion about how challenging solving any sort of housing problems that we deal with in South Kingstown are. I mean, it's complicated that we are a university town. It's complicated that we are a tourist community. Both of those rentals push the availability of year-round rentals to almost nothing. I mean, when I think about people even getting a job and saying, oh, you have a job at URI, great, and I think to myself, how are they ever going to find an apartment or a home? So it's not even just purchasing a home, you can't even rent a home. And that stresses me out when I read on social media, people are looking for an apartment or a home and they just can't find them. So it's frustrating to me when people build new housing developments and the home, a 1,600 square foot home is $599. I mean, it's who's buying that? So I think we need to figure out all of the solutions as a council that we can try to implement to try to address those things. I do know that ADU accessory dwelling units. We passed that last year. We haven't really had an update on if anyone's really taking advantage of it. I was also curious, someone told me that if you're 62, you can build an ADU regardless. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what someone told me in South Kingstown. You can, if you're over 62, you can put an ADU on your property. It's only one tool. There has to be multiple tools, but it does, when people say, do we care? Of course, I can tell you that I care, because I worry that people get a great job at URI and can't live here. You can't do anything if you can't find an apartment to live in here. And that's what I feel is also a challenge because of the push and pull of all of those markets. And we also have, even now, URI students can't live in Narragansett in a 4-bedroom home, so they're literally pushing into South Kingstown. They're literally going to push right over into Charlestown, over, and up to North Kingstown. So we have a very difficult problem to solve, and I don't think that people don't care. I think the homestead exemption is also another possible tool. I mean, we have to look at all of those things. It's just been one thing after another in terms of COVID and all these other things, and that's no excuse, but I would just want to know, anyone who is listening, that I personally care, and I actually think all the people to my left care about these very same things. They may not articulate it in the same way or focus on the same issues, but I think the issue of solving housing is challenging. For people who aren't aware, URI is holding a whole housing summit. We got invited. I don't know if we got invited. Actually, we didn't get invited, but someone sent it to me. It's at URI at the end of the week, the 11th and the 12th. And they're trying to tackle some of those issues as well. And so one day is virtual and one day is in person. So if anyone's interested, you can go to the UR website and look to participate. I would just challenge back to anyone who says we don't care. We absolutely care. We've talked multiple times. I've also said how expensive it is to live here. I mean, we're going to go on in the agenda and we're going to raise the rate that your trash bag, and we're going to raise your water bill rate, and because all of that's coming there. And so I'm very sensitive to just the constant layering that we ask of the community. And I'm very comfortable asking the questions, why do we keep putting it back on the community? Because it makes it become unaffordable for all of us. So it's not that I don't care or that we don't care. It's hard to always respond because of the format of the meeting.
Thank you, Deb. Any other thoughts from members at this time?
Yeah, I just, for the first time in my life, I had to dial 911 this past week and call the fire department to the pump house where I was working. And I just want to thank the fire department, Union Fire District, for their quick response. They really prevented a serious fire from causing a lot of damage there. And it's great. My brother will be able to open up pretty quickly now. And I think that's all thanks to their hard work. I think that's emblematic of the service that they provide to our town and neighboring towns 365 days a year. So thank you to them. I echo Deb's sentiments around affordable housing. It's a really hard nut to crack. It's not just SK, although SK is a serious, has its own challenges on top of the rest of the country trying to deal with the crisis. I think we have taken some steps. We hope to take more. We're, eagerly anticipating the results of our affordable housing study, which has been in the work for years and has, taken too long, in my own opinion. And there are things we can do. We can set zoning policies that encourage development of more affordable units. Municipal governments, at least on our scale, don't command and control the housing market. We're really relying on private developers to develop the housing that people will purchase for hopefully affordable rates. So even if we change policies next month or 6 months from now, it's going to take many years before those policies result in the availability of housing that we really want to see and that people need here. I think we have it's just an ongoing challenge that we have to really keep working at, and I don't know. We're going to do our best. I thank people for their patience.
Any other thoughts from the members? I'll just echo some similar thoughts here. Facing housing problems from the council perspective is a challenging problem. The council is not in the business of dealing with real estate per se, but we are in the business of trying to fostering an environment that allows for change in the community. And a few things we have done successfully, which the other two members have iterated. We allowed for abatement for accessory dwelling units for a number of years. We've also passed the cottage zoning ordinance, which allows for higher density housing in specific areas of town. And what we're trying to do when we do things like that is really, like I said, foster an environment that allows for more development and more housing, so that there are more options for people, young professionals, like someone like myself, for example. There's always more work to be done. It's on our radar, and we're going to continue to do things like that. Another thing at our disposal, and hopefully we will consider, is the potential for tax abatement for the first 10% of a value of your real estate, for example, homestead exemption. So that's something we will consider. It's just because we didn't do it a few years ago and thought it was not something that would be effective in town doesn't mean it's not anymore. So we will explore all options available to us, and it's an important issue, and we'll continue to tackle it. So just wanted to express similar thoughts that we are here to do the best we can, and we're going to face those issues and do what we can. So thank you for your patience with those issues. But if there's no other comments, we will move to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep this brief, but in full transparency. Just want to talk about the last week, and every couple of weeks I'll brief you on some of the operations of the town. I'm sure there's many people that are curious as to what goes on. I met last week was a blur. I met with every director and just about every employee in town. As I found in Narragansett, municipal employees are the best. They really are a breath of fresh air. I was so impressed with the quality of each employee, whether it was maintenance men cutting the lawns or cleaning the town hall or the high-level directors. They had knowledge, passion, enthusiasm, dedicated to their respective positions. And each time I spoke to them, I would ask, how many of you are residents? Many raised their hands, or from neighboring towns. So they're embedded in this community. They love this community, and it really was a breath of fresh air. You don't see that in all levels of government. I'll leave it at that. So it was good. We'll have formal meetings with the directors, talk about goals and objectives, and every couple of weeks, stuff that we all should be doing. I met with the new school superintendent, Mr. Mark Prince. That was one of the first orders of business. I found him to be very intelligent, very motivated, and I'm very impressed by him. I pledged to him that we're gonna meet every couple of weeks and discuss goals and objectives on the town level and the school level, so that we match, we run concurrent in our goals and objectives. And I committed to him that the town will work with him to help him succeed, and our school system to succeed, and move forward. So I'm expecting big things from the relationship that we will have. There's 4 high-level positions open within the town of South Kingstown. Police chief, there are 12 applicants. That closed on Friday. That position, we will start the interviews with by next week. There were 5 out of the 12 applicants will be being interviewed for that position. Finance director also closed on Friday the 6th. There were 15 applicants, some great applicants as well, and we'll be scheduling those interviews within the next couple of weeks as well. The tax assessor. That has been described to me as a lost art, that it's a very tough position to fill because of just the structure of the job. We have 1 applicant. It closes on the 13th of May, but there are also 2 more that are expected to apply in that time frame. Mr. Luke Murray has been doing a very difficult job recruiting and interviewing prospective candidates, and we've been digging deep on that. The Director of Public Services, Mr. John Schock's job, that date will close on 5/27. We just posted that, so we don't have any applicants yet, but that is a very good high-level job that I expect we'll get some very good applicants to fill that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for the manager at this time? All right, that's going to bring us to item 10, appointments.
Motion to approve. Motion to appoint Dave Palazetti to the Recreation Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes.
Make a resolution to appoint Dorothy Hill to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes.
I'll make a resolution to reappoint Edward Melchiori to the Building Code Board of Appeals and the Minimum Housing Code Board of Appeals.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. That's going to bring us to item 11, new business, B, a resolution accepting Oyster Drive into the town's system of roads, and is further detailed in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated May 3, 2022.
Motion to approve item 11B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Any discussion?
I just wanted to say John Shockey came up with a great name. I think it reflects the community in the area, and I think it was a great choice. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
It's good.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item C, which is a resolution amending the solid waste user fee for residential refuse tags from $2.10 to $2.25 effective July 1, 2022, and amending the town's schedule of fees as further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated May 3, 2022.
A motion to approve 11C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item D, which is a resolution establishing the water user fees rate schedule as shown on Exhibit 1 attached here 2, effective July 1, 2022, and amending the town's schedule of fees as further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated May 3, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item E, which is a resolution establishing a wastewater user fee rates effective July 1, 2022 as follows, and amending the town's schedule of fees as further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated May 3, 2022.
Motion to approve item 11E.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item F, which is a resolution authorizing a septic discharge rate of $90 per 1,000 gallons effective July 1, 2022, and amending the town schedule of fees as further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated May 3, 2022.
Motion to approve item 11F.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item G, which is a resolution authorizing an award of purchase to LA Management Incorporated, doing business as Marine Boat Builders Company of Warwick, Rhode Island, for an Edson Platinum peristaltic pump and related equipment as specified in an amount not to exceed $18,784, as further described in a memorandum from the Harbor Master Natural Resources Officer to the Town Manager dated May 4, 2022.
Motion to approve item 11G.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, so during the work session, we did discuss this item, and we did get a grant from the Department of Environmental Management, and I think that the actual net cost to the town is about $1,400. So thank you to the Harbor Master for securing that grant. Appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. It's going to bring us to item H, which is a resolution extending the town's declaration of emergency adopted at an emergency session on March 15, 2020, and subsequently renewed on a monthly basis as shown on Exhibit 2 attached here too.
Motion to approve item 11H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah. So we've had this a number of times, and I personally feel like I don't 100% buy that we have to keep it in place to get the federal money. I think that I don't buy that explanation. So, and I also think that we sort of just moved on to like a regular phase of life, and this, whatever COVID and the pandemic is what it's going to be potentially for another 9 months at least. They're saying right through the fall and the winter. I don't see it as it's not a reflection of whoever sits in the chair. I just think that we have policies and procedures and things in place that no town manager on the fly would need to be organizing or changing anything without council information. So it's hard to keep going there when the community is like, there's no need. So
I haven't supported this the past several times it's come up, and I don't plan on supporting it tonight.
Any further discussion? Susan, can we take the roll?
Bergner. No.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kelso. Aye. Councilwoman Rose.
No.
Council President McEntee.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 3-2.
All right. It's going to bring us to the end of the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, one of us.
I hear a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes. Thank you tonight, everyone, and have a good week.